Today's video will be a little bit more challenging, I think, to watch. And if you're someone that has ever struggled with depression, anxiety, or thought at one point that you have ever needed therapy, I mean, this video is for you. And it's also for me in a way to show you how I have felt throughout my past experiences about how, sometimes it's not necessarily about just taking pills like these to feel better. Sometimes it's about doing something towards yourself and looking inwards and seeing if you can help others out. And today's video is going to be a video about somebody else's story about what he saw within his own experiences through depression, through self-anxiety. And I have my own outlets to deal with this. I love working out. I think it's a free therapy method that you can use all the time. And this is going to be a very different video, so let me know if you do enjoy something like this.
I ended up living with my friends it was a dealer home. So we're having like huge JanSport bags of drugs going in and out. We're transporting it, we're carrying it, we're selling it.
And it makes me sad that a lot of people resort to stuff like this. There's nothing you can really do when you put yourself down like this.
And I'm trying to readjust to life, but I can't because I'm so drugged out. So another guy came and we smoked out again, but this is where it gets kind of crazy. But I smoked what's called a death bowl. A death bowl is the street name for heroin, cocaine.
This is ridiculous.
It looks like marijuana, but it's laced. So when I smoked this drug,
I feel bad for people
after the third day of staying up
that get involved with this.
Sight of date, time, who you are, why you're alive. On the last day, I actually had an encounter with, I believe it's Satan now, but he came to me in an open eye vision. He just looked like an Asian grandpa and said, "I know you're having a hard time." And I said, "Yeah, I thought it was my Buddhist God." So when he came to me, he said, "It's time for you to take your own life, cut your neck, cut your stomach, and I'll spare you from hell." And I didn't know Jesus back then, so that's exactly what I did.
And that is insane to me. I just want to preface this by saying that I have gotten so many emails, even just through what I do for video creation, about how I've helped people or I've gotten them to steer away from suicide. And I truly believe that that is my point of creating YouTube content, for creating videos. And seeing people like this who have had experiences where they've gone so far down the rabbit hole makes me realize that this has got to be the reason I'm here. To stop all of this madness as much as I physically can, just myself. And it is unbelievable to me that people can have these crazy experiences. And in a lot of ways, they're all sort of similar and connect to each other. And I think about how important that is for us to be knowledgeable about things like this. And just listening to a story like this is crazy.
I went to the kitchen with my mom in the house, and I grabbed the biggest knife I could find, and I cut my neck open and also my stomach open.
No human should have to do this. This is unbelievable.
And I lost 90% of my blood.
This is
My mom
crazy.
walks into the living room and she sees her son almost dying. She calls 911, and the cops come over to try to get the knife away from me, and they came within like 1 minute, right? I was wrestling with them. They took the knife away. They maced me, whacked me with the bat.
And that is crazy. Police whacking you with a bat to get you to stop doing, it shows how far gone we can be as human beings. And I won't lie, I've had times where I've definitely gone too far for my own good. And it hurts to see something like this, because it's like we all have moments like this where we know that what we're doing is not something that's good for us. And that is why I think it's so important to know what's happening and to know what to do in situations when you think that there is no option left for you, because this is not the correct solution.
And that's when I fainted after being whacked by the bat. And pretty soon I'm going in and out, and I'm in the hospital. And at the hospital, that's when I had the OBE. I literally, lost consciousness before the surgery. And I see myself, but I'm not going to heaven like the false god Satan coming as an old grandpa said. I'm sinking and it feels like an elevator just falling down. And after 5 minutes of just this horrific feeling of being abandoned and fear multiplied by 100 by anything you can feel on earth, I land and I look around and it's hell. How do I know it's hell? Because first of all, I never had this thought before, but when I got there, during this out-of-body experience, I look around and there was just so many countless people. I wasn't the only one there.
And I just want to preface this by saying, regardless of whatever you believe with God and whatnot, I truly believe that I'm a Christian. I truly believe that heaven and hell do exist. I've seen experiences with my own eyes where people have told me that they're on their deathbed, about to die, and they feel like they're starting to burn. And it's like, I've had my own experiences with deja vu where, you know, I've moved somewhere and it's like I've seen these moments before. And I know some of you might think I'm just sounding crazy at this point, but it's something that I had to basically ask and really realize within my life, is this really true? Because how could this make any sense? Demons and angels and God and Satan, like, it doesn't make sense. And then it only ever really made sense once I started, like, reading and learning and actually realizing it with my own experiences in my own life. And it scared me so bad to see things like this, because I don't want anybody to suffer or have any of this type of pain in their life. There's been too many people that have fallen into this trap, and it horrifies me to the point where it's like such a common thing now, you know, and I don't want that for any of you watching this video.
Ceiling high, they're everywhere. I feel pain, and I knew I was
and this
a sinner,
is
and
horrifying.
I wanted to leave this place. I don't know where the idea came from. I just supernaturally knew, instinctively knew.
Which is
And that's
unreal.
when I realized, like, I made a big mistake. I woke up the next day and they told me I was out for 12 hours, but it was a 5-minute visit to hell. And I knew I didn't want to be there because it's like hopelessness, despair, loneliness, pain. When it came out
5
of it,
minutes
I was
feels like eternity, you know?
I was very traumatized for the next 3 months. That's how painful it was. Jesus talks about a place of torment where there is no quenching of fire and there's no stopping of the gnashing of teeth. And I did feel heat, I did feel darkness, I felt hopelessness. That's how I knew it was biblically valid. It was exactly what he said.
And a
When I opened my
stench
eyes,
that's
I was
just
surrounded
awful
by
and
pastors like, you want to see
awful.
the sinner's prayer? I was like, yes, I do. I was so relieved and scared of hell and relieved of being alive at the same time that I think I said the sinner's prayer about 10 times. Yeah, so the Lord allowed me.
I mean, I have my own qualms about the sinner's prayer, but what I really believe is that I think people need to find salvation. I think there's such a justification in our world to conform to the ways of, like, just getting therapy or just do this, take this pill, go here, go and do that. And I think, okay, if you have some sort of actual illness, of course, you should. However, I think for the majority of people, a lot of us just get sad or we move away from the right path in life. And that's because we're too self-focused. Society makes us very narcissistic. And to have an outlet like this, for me, to be able to share with everybody about how I can help others and change the way that people think and basically cause a butterfly effect of good attributes in people's lives, I believe is the reason that I'm alive. And this video and so many other countless tales reinforce this behavior for me. And it is so beautiful to see it happen with someone like this.
In his grace and love and mercy to see hell, just like it is in the Bible. And then 6 months later, or rather more like 7 months later, in the summer of 1999, I was in Korea now. Now for 6 months, I was just resting at the prayer mountain. I tried to go back to school, but I couldn't really be physically all there.
Of course, after what you go through, man.
I ended up just kind of leaving school. I'm resting. I'm trying to become a Christian, right? But at the same time, I'm still partying with my non-Christian friends. Heard what happened, they still kept coming. So I still went drinking after this happened. I was like, Lord.
And I want people to also know that, like, it is fine to be with people that are not Christian within your life, because listen, I was born and raised Christian, and I actually sort of went away from the faith. I you guys watch my videos. I've sworn a lot, and I do a bunch of that. Like, I've done a bunch of stuff, right, that I'm not necessarily proud of. But I think the most important part is to know what you're really here for. And I think that is why people like this have these amazing experiences that just sound absurd. They sound crazy. It's like, how could you even experience this? But it's like, if it's so crazy and it's so out of the imaginative, like, you can't even think this up. Like, it must be real. And I think about it, and I think about how human beings are rational human beings, and about how we can't have come from the irrational. I really do believe that, like, things like the Big Bang are an irrational thing. How can 0 plus 0 equal 1? This is not how the rational mind works. And so I do believe that in some essence, we come from a rational higher power. And I love that this shows that, even if we fall back, there's nothing that we can do about it. We have to pray and hope that we can chase what we need to do in this life and constantly rely on God. And that's how I believe I've managed to create my YouTube channels and be where I am today. I mean, I always think about it. If I didn't have my YouTube channels, I have no idea what I'd be doing right now. And I truly believe that you watching this video and you listening to my voice is a reason. There's a reason to everything, and I don't believe anything is coincidence.
I heard this mercy and forgiveness. Let me have one last shot, right? It ended up causing...
He's a God of second chances, third chances,
in the midst of this
fourth
partying
chances,
in the summer,
20th chances.
The Lord allowed me to have a car accident, which really struck fear in me. And at the same time, He gave me a dream. Like, I didn't even ask for this dream. I was on the top of a mountain, the dream, very vivid. And I heard the voice of God. And I've never heard audibly this clearly. And God speaks to me.
Also, I think I just got to preface this. If anybody says they hear God and it's not within biblical scripture, they're just wrong. Which is why I believe this, because He spoke within biblical scripture. Because what people realize is that the Bible is like a closed canon book. It's over, right? So God can't, like, physically speak to you. And that's why you get, like, all these, like, crazy Christian cults that are like, God told me to kill everyone. And it's like, no, obviously not. It's actually about reading and researching and learning. And that's why, like, within my school, I took a world religion course, and I had to study the Quran. I had to study all different types of religions. And it made me so knowledgeable in terms of what I could see and what I could understand, also with my art history degree. And after coming to all the studying and writing papers and realization, it's like I was right from the beginning, but I wanted to think that I wasn't. And that's why I want to make this video for a lot of you, just to save your time. Don't do what I did and think that you can do this alone. And even if you don't believe, you can't do this alone no matter what. And I have to preface that and tell everybody that's listening that you can do whatever you set your mind to, especially if it's your plan and God's plan. God's plan for you is amazing. I really do believe that. And He wants to create something that is amazing within your life.
Bible verses, and He said, Jesus is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to Him, listen to Him, listen to Him. And I was like, oh my God, did I just hear God? And I saw this triangular light like rotating in the dream, and I'm on the top of a mountain, and I see this huge, beautiful valley with a river and mountains on both sides. And just like it says in Revelation 21, verse 2, it says, I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. It was.
And I want people to realize, like, that this is not just random stuff. Like, there is so much research that you can do. And I didn't necessarily believe in Christ when I was a kid. I think one of the things that really changed it for me was when I looked at the historical evidence where places like Sodom and Gomorrah are actually have been burnt with sulfur, or places like, the start of everything where people have descended down from certain areas and the way the world is divided. There's a lot of historical evidence that I encourage you, if you're listening to my voice right now, to go and seek for yourself, because I want people to watch this video and make their own conclusions. I don't want people to be indoctrinated or forced. That is never the way that people can truly find out their own truth on their own time. You have to come to that conclusion yourself. And that is why I'm making this video more as a warning to tell you that, we don't have that much time. A lot of my favorite actors and actresses in Hollywood, for example, have been passing away, like Hagrid, or even the RuneScape guy who is much older, who just passed away literally the same day as Robbie Coltrane. And I think about that and I'm like, man, so many great people are passing, but what was even the point, And I don't believe that this suffering in this world is the end-all be-all. And throughout my entire YouTube channel, I put secret links in my description. A lot of people click them and they're like, what is this for? And it's more of my warning to you guys, to tell you to make sure you come to that conclusion before the end of your life, and make sure you are 100% solid in it. Make sure you trust a foundation that is built on a rock. Something that you can rely on for the rest of your life and after death. And I believe truly there's only one person that's done that, and that one person's grave is empty today.
Literally a transparent pyramid triangular city. I think it was in New Jerusalem. And it came down, and there were angels on both sides just flying with trumpets that were so long. And they're worshiping God. And I knew it was not human voice because it was just so holy and perfect and majestic and beautiful. At that moment, compared to seeing hell, and
it's like a
compared to that hopelessness of anything on earth, pain-wise, and seeing heaven where the peace and the joy and the comfort you feel of having Father right next to you, like tangibly, visibly with you, is incomparable. And I knew that God was showing me heaven because He wants all of humanity there. He wants every single soul there.
Of course.
The defining moment for heaven and hell, seeing heaven and hell and coming to a point of realization and resolution of lifestyle change was, I need to share this gospel with every human being I meet. We ask ourselves, like, what can we do to love this person, right? We can do acts of service, give them money, pray for them. But if they don't know Jesus, the greatest gift we can give them is to let them know these two places are real.
Well, and that's why I think this is one of my favorite videos, just to tell you guys that both these places are real. And I know a lot of people always question, why would a loving God make a place like hell? And I think it's because when you really think about it, we are human beings that have the decision between good and evil. We are yin and yang. And I think for most people, they can't accept that with absolute good must come absolute evil. And because of our nature, that absolute evil is a necessity for absolute good. It's the same thing. It's the reason why we have free will. It's the same reason why we have a choice. It's the reason why we've been given life today. And, a lot of people always wonder, like, what's the point of life? Like, we lived in a rigged system where 2,000 billionaires basically own 50% of all of income around the world, especially with the US dollar. And a lot of people think that, well, what is the point now? There's nothing I can do. If money is the way for success, I'm in a rigged system. I am but a product of somebody else's system. And that is why I truly believe life is about the moral decisions you make along the way. Did you help that person when you could have? Did you make it in your best effort to choose good today? And a lot of people, I think, continuously choose evil, even including myself some days. And I want people to know that you can go back to choosing good, no matter how far bad you've gotten. You can be one of the worst people in the world and still be saved, still be accepted. And I want people to know that you are loved no matter what, and that there's always somebody there watching and taking care of you, whether you think it or not. Sometimes I've had a couple people in my life pass away, and I'm only 24 already, and it's wild. Like people from high school, people that I've known from streaming, and sometimes I close my eyes, and it's like I can see them there with me, and I feel like the presence is there to comfort me and to show me that I can keep going throughout my life. And I don't think that's for a random reason. I think it's for a purpose. And even if you have never had those experiences or just think that I'm insane, I encourage you to just research and find what you believe your truth is, because a closed mind will never see the truth.
You can actually go to heaven only through Jesus, actually, and have a relationship with the Father where you're his child. It's the most beautiful thing you can give somebody.
I agree.
I can, with 100% confidence, tell you right now that I do not struggle with depression or suicide ever, except when I am overworked and physically tired.
Same.
Depression or suicide thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Why am I saying this?
It's negativity, man.
I believe not taking care of the body is a big element of having a unsuccessful spiritual life. The degree to which you take care of your body and your spirit.
All health is important. You have to
true
balance
and
mental, physical, spiritual,
So I really believe
emotional.
that's a big component of that. If you're struggling through depression and sadness or lack of motivation, we have to start by shifting the focus from ourselves to others.
Exactly.
I don't know if you noticed this, but when you're with others, it's hard to be depressed. When you're with God, it's hard to be depressed.
Yeah.
When you're more aware of other people's suffering than your own, it's hard to be unmotivated because you got to do stuff to help them. Jesus said in John 12:24, I love this verse, it's actually my second favorite verse. Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. It's not good for us to be alone.
I
But
agree.
if it falls to the ground and dies, then it bears much fruit. It will bear a huge harvest. So can we ignore it? It's not just about ignoring, but it's about shifting the focus from being aware of my depression to thank God that I'm even alive. But some people come to a point
Amen.
where professionally they might need psychiatric help, and I'm not against that because medicine too is a blessing from God, I believe. But there comes a point when you're healed to a certain degree, now it's up to you and the Lord. So I start my day through prayer and thanksgiving and praise, and it reshifts priority and joy, right?
I always say that even if you don't believe in religion or Christianity or God, gratitude is the opposite of negativity. If you're grateful, you can't be sad or negative. Because when you're grateful, you really see how much you have. And that's why I've done a lot of gratitude journaling within the past year. And it makes me think about how blessed I am to walk, to breathe, to even see. Because so many people don't even have the luxury to touch, to hear, to taste, to see, to walk, to run, to go out and work, to make content, and to think that you don't have everything that you want, and that is the end all be all, and that because of that you should resort to stupid things like suicide is preposterous to me. And I think that having this mindset will change your life forever. And it is so fundamental for young people, especially like myself, to have this mindset and instill it in their life immediately.
And in his presence, it says in the Bible, there's a fullness of joy. So our job is not to get rid of depression. Our job is to get into his presence, and he will get rid of the depression for you.
Exactly.
When I'm down, I have a Thanksgiving notebook,
Same.
and I will start writing what I'm thankful for, and then you're like, oh, when was I down? Right? So it's all about the reshifting of the focus and doing what we can do. When we are hopeless and when we're going through depression and suicidal thoughts, I want to encourage you guys that it takes one word from Jesus. For me, it took one encounter to get rid of that junk. So have hope, because God can literally change your situation from the prison to the palace in one day. For me, it was like literally hell to earth to heaven in one day. So God has a plan to use you, and there is
Amen.
a purpose to your suffering. I didn't know this, but now I have so much compassion for suicidal people. So I want to encourage you guys
of course.
that
There's always
Jesus
a
has
purpose.
allowed
Nothing is
suffering to
coincidence
happen
in this
'cause number
life.
one, he wants to deliver you, and number two, he's going to use that story for you to be able to relate to those who are going to go through the same thing later. So you're in good hands. It's going to be
Yes.
okay, says the Lord.
It's going to be good.
After the pandemic happened, the Lord's installing more fire, more anointing, more faith than when before the virus came. People say, "Oh, now I'm not motivated to do stuff." We've had daily prayer. Today's day 54 of our
It's not
daily
always
prayer
about
training in the morning
motivation.
and
It's
in the
about
day.
discipline too,
And
right?
what we feel like God is
Such
saying
a
to the body of Christ and
valuable
to us who
aspect.
seek Him daily in the morning, first thing is, I want my church to wake up. I want my church to be a pure, spotless bride before I come back. So my heart burns for the church. When I meet a believer, my number one priority is, how can I get this guy on fire? How can we be radical? Because
And I mean, something that really helped me actually was there's an amazing show that actually sort of brought me back to realizing what it really is about. It's not even about the church, it's not even about the religion. It's just solely about Christ and the way that he lived. And I think one of the greatest things that helped me with that was when I watched a show called The Chosen. They're actually just releasing season 3 very soon. And I actually messaged them and I said I would love to be a part of their project. And I think they're messaging me back. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens with that. But if I do end up with that project, I might just quit everything that I'm doing right now. Because, Call of Duty is in a very strange spot, at least for another 2 years. And so I'm at a point in my life where anything could happen, really. And I think that that is why it's going to be interesting to see what goes on in 2023 for sure.
if you're not crazy for Jesus, you'll be crazy for something else, like golf or something else. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
every human being worships and is crazy for something, even if
Exactly.
that's laziness or, saving souls. So I feel like God is saying, be on fire, be hot. Don't let me spew you out of my mouth. Be like the 5 wise virgins who was ready for his coming. Because if you're not, if you miss it, it's too late. Live on fire for Jesus. And I'm not talking about just outwardly, on the inside. We can live on fire for Jesus. For the world, I feel like God is saying anyone can meet him. So my heart's burning for both the church and evangelism. And I feel like we have one shot at this, Only one life. It will soon be past. What's done
Yeah.
for Christ will last. We're very excited to see of meeting Jesus now.
Of course. Amazing video. And I want you guys to take from it what you will. And if there is anything that I could recommend you, go and watch The Chosen. And go and seek any sort of salvation with your life. God bless everyone that's watched this video. And I pray for you to follow whatever you believe in.